Speaking of synchronicity, the way I found out about the Hearty nutritional supplement was kind of a synchronicity. It starts many years ago when I was sharing my story at a family mental health group, and a woman came up to me after and we exchanged information, and I think at that point I'd already heard about EM Power Plus, and she was maybe telling me a bit about micronutrients or something, but I was already aware of it. And then one time I was at a wellness show and I saw my friend at a chiropractic booth, and she had someone in the chair in front of her because she was talking about this spine checkup thing that people do at wellness shows and things. And I took a picture of her and I sent it to her. And then sometime later, I don't even know when, I was going through my pictures and I saw that picture, and who was sitting in the chair but the lady who I met at that mental health talk that I gave. And so I think I emailed her and said, whoa, look at this, you're in this picture that I took. I didn't even notice that it was you in the chair. And so we talked, and then before I left for California, I emailed her asking about micronutrients because she had told me about a different company that maybe would be a little bit better for me because I was on lithium, and the Hearty Nutritionals product has a bit of lithium in it. And so she told me about the product, and then I knew. So when I went to California and I realized that, hey, I got to taper off this stuff instead of taking more Seroquel indefinitely, then I was able to contact Hearty Nutritionals and get that product, and it was and is really helpful. So yeah, that was quite synchronistic, and a long journey of that. And so I was thinking about that synchronistic trajectory of events, and I know really sadly this person's adult child is stuck in a mental health facility that he can't get out of. So he doesn't even have the option to take micronutrients, and neither do some of my friends who are getting injected. So I feel like it would be cool to create a documentary to try to help raise awareness of these people that are stuck in these places. And that would be to continue with the synchronicity. I met somebody who is a documentary filmmaker when I was selling my last iPhone, and turns out he studied Krishnamurti too, so that was synchronicity, and blah blah blah. So there could be something there. And then of course, to add more complications to everything, I started writing on paper again and thinking about writing a magical notebook, because I can't make videos on everything. So if I want to explore more of this magical element, perhaps writing it down and then maybe taking pictures and sharing the notebook and what I write to myself would be something else to do, because translating to video takes a long time. And I'm also finding that I sort of have a certain tone with myself in this medium. So the tone sometimes is different when I start writing in magical ways. It does become a little bit more inspirational to myself and then maybe others. So for example, and I won't share all of this on video like this, but I wrote, when your synchronicity is active, start writing special messages to synchronize with and as my synchronicity as it is active. Seemingly mundane and meaningless synchronicity is a sign of what is operating. Egocentricity or synchronicity, write from synchronicity in order to be of that order, the order of synchronicity. We make it happen. That is our highest capacity. So this comes through me in writing, but I don't, unless I did like random live streams or something, it would be difficult for me to sit down and just say that stuff. And it's odd for me to look at it and then say it and then look at it and say it. It'd be cool to be able to speak in these ways all the time, and then that be that new expression I was talking about. But it comes through more in writing, and I don't know how well it translates to video. I could do that, but then it would be like, when your synchronicity is active, blah, blah, blah. It sounds a little bit like instructions, but it is instructions to myself, but I don't know if other people need to hear it. But there was a really weird synchronicity that made me write that down. There were these cute little cat wooden things on the table, and I took a picture of it. And it made me think of those Russian dolls that you can open up and put inside each other, and there's like one lady there, and you open them up and then you take them out separately and they're all beside each other. And I didn't really think the cats did that, and I didn't really look closely and think much of it. And I took this picture at 11:23 a.m. or something, and then I walked out of the room and I came back, and Barney the dinosaur was on TV, and this was 3 minutes later. And all of a sudden the kids on the show were with Barney, and they were learning about these nesting dolls. And they had that woman doll with all the little dolls inside, and they were taking it apart. So I took a video of that. This is a weird synchronicity. I was just looking at these cats, thinking they were those ones that went inside each other. Then I thought they weren't. And then I looked at the TV, and Barney has these same things going on. And it turns out these are nesting cats, just like the nesting dolls. That was bizarre. And one could think that's not really that exciting, and it's not. But it's so random, and it's so, like, what are the odds of that? And that's sort of the point. It's like, what are the odds of that? But it was there for me to notice the meaning and the connection, and how, what are the odds of that? So what I'm trying to say is that synchronicity is always operating, but if I'm at home living this sort of sheltered life, then the synchronicities are going to happen, but they're going to be like, oh, well, that was just interesting. It doesn't really mean anything. It's synchronistic, it's random, it's kind of strange, but it doesn't have any meaning really beyond that. But what I'm saying is it's pointing to the fact that that is still operating. So it'll happen wherever. It'll happen in the mundane, it'll happen in the profound. My wrist is getting sore from holding my phone. And I took a picture of the cats because I thought they were really cute. So it was a mysterious coincidence. Not really that exciting, but again, just a hint that the mystery is still there. It's always operating. As part of lifestyle design, I want to go look at camper vans. So it means we can see meaning, we can link meaning, we can make meaning, and there is a mystery there. So whether it's nesting cats and Barney the dinosaur, or meeting someone who seems like Jesus, it's all the same mystery, and it is us who puts a value on the mystery, like this is a better mystery than the other, but it's all mysterious. So can I make this next year, and that year mark is September 11th, more about synchronicity and magic, and can I design a life where there's more possibility for synchronicity beyond noticing and taking a moment to take a picture of these cute little wooden cats because I think they're cute, which then created the opportunity for the synchronicity with Barney the dinosaur to noticing something else. And here I am judging that that's not as cool as a more mysterious coincidence. But I think what I'm seeing now too is that by stopping to notice and take a picture of the cats and acknowledge them and they're cute, giving attention to something, noticing, perception, synchronizing with the cats, then created the synchronicity. So if I would have just looked at them and not given them more than a few moments thought, that would have never happened. So it's the noticing, it's the stopping to pay attention, it's the appreciating of something beyond just not even noticing it or beyond just a passing thought that allows the universe to say, okay, well, now I'm going to synchronize with that. So it's what we're paying attention to, it's what we're giving our attention to, it's what we're paying with our attention that is then going to synchronize with us. So I don't think that small example was to be anything meaningful, like, oh, now I need to watch Barney the Dinosaur. God, I had to turn it off. I couldn't find the remote. I had to unplug the Apple TV. It was so bad. But, so that would be putting wrong meaning on it, thinking I have to watch Barney the Dinosaur. But that example, and even just unfolding with myself now, makes me realize somewhat of the mechanism. So even today here, being like, I'm going to talk to myself in the park, and I wasn't sure if I was going to, noticing the inchworm, noticing the hummingbird, noticing the green bug, and taking a picture and taking time to appreciate it and acknowledge nature and beauty, then allows more of that to synchronize with me, and then I start to feel better, if you want to call it better. So what does this mean? Meaning can be created. What is meaningful is created by our perception, by what we pay attention to. What we pay attention to is what is meaningful to us. And then the universe responds in kind. So we create what's meaningful with our perception and what we pay attention to. And these are important elements. It's important to learn about perception, which is part of meaning, which is part of synchronicity, which is part of synchronizing. All of this is so important. So a year of magic and synchronicity, lifestyle design, perception, action. And I wrote, we aren't creating with that energy is the problem. We're ignoring the signs, we're ignoring the messages. We aren't creating perception with the meaning. We aren't seeing the meaning, we aren't creating the meaning. We're passing it off as meaningless. And I think that's the biggest mistake, is we pass all that off as meaningless and then go back to what we've been told is normal. Can we go from manic to magic? And I think the manic part is, again, the overflow of it and not participating with seeing meaning and creating perception in daily life. And that's part of what the self-dialogue does too, is it's participating with seeing meaning, making meaning, creating perception, which is all part of the process of what so-called mania thrusts us into. So when we keep that part of our brains active on a daily basis and not ignore it, the energy doesn't come through and burst through at some point and destroy the mechanistic routine that we're trying to overlay over top of that energy. Mania is an introduction, induction, immersion to the mystery and magic of the universe. We have that magic power. How can we notice that magic power? How can we ground it? Not getting freaked out by the magic or surprised. It just feels normal, so the nervous system doesn't react in fear, which is the self-program of ego logic, or egogic, which is a word, I just made it up. Reasserting itself. Be undisturbed, unperturbed by the perturbations in the laws of physics, glitches in technology, etc. Be not alarmed by the special messages on TV. The brain is reawakening its power to infuse new meaning. And usually on TV right now, there's either police car chases or real estate. And the other day, the person watching, I don't know what they were watching, the sound wasn't even on, but it said, change the world on the bottom. And I think that was a little bit of a message for me. So I wrote that down because that was part of the magical notebook, making note of the magic in daily life and noticing that magic. And by noticing it and acknowledging it again, it's similar to taking a picture of the wooden cats. By taking the time to write it down, it's inviting more of that into life. It's inviting that to synchronize with my brain. It's inviting the universe to respond to that element in my being. And the other thing I was thinking about was how synchronicity is like sing and crow. And then I looked up Ni, N-I, and it stands for no idea. And that's something that I say to myself is, I have no idea, I don't know. And by that, I have a lot of ideas, and there's a lot of stuff that I could say. And the Ni symbol in Japanese is used to indicate destination or direction, and Ni in Sanskrit means down, back, into, in, within, except always, prefixed either to verbs or nouns. In the latter case, it also has the meaning of negation or privation. I don't know what privation means, but negation, a lot of what I talk about with myself is negation. So I like this no idea, this negation, this destination or direction, and then city. So synchronicity. Synchronicity. And then of course I had to do an even better drawing where singing, that's a mouth, find by synchronicity, and sing, a mouth with the notes, and the crow and the city. So yeah, I haven't gotten super far in that yet. And another synchronicity was I was at the fair and people were talking about how they got to see that famous crow that will just hang out with people and like sit with them and stuff. And I think it has a special person that it sits with and saying, oh, they're really smart and stuff. So that was cool. So I've created a lot of video with myself today. So much for stopping at 400 and doing more succinct videos that are topic based. I don't know if that's going to work with my brain, considering how I just unfolded that. This is how that chaotic energy gets moved and harnessed and harvested, and that way I can still do my daily life and do the linear things that I need to do. So probably just keep going, talking to myself until something changes, and yeah, not sure what that will be.